Evening, everyone. I'm Mary Carrier. I'm with the Clifton Park Half Moon Library, and you're joining me this evening to see about are you ready to cut the cable cord? And I have a lot of information to share with you tonight. This will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel, so you can always come back to it later and fast forward, pause, do whatever you need to do. I'm sure we're all in different stages of moving towards this, but as I can see, we're ready to use Zoom. So if you have any questions, I have everyone muted, but if you do have a question, there is a Q&A option available to you. So finding your toolbar and doing that. Otherwise, you can also contact the library in the future and let us know if you have questions. We are available for service. Our number is 518-371-8622. So during this COVID-19, we are available for service. We also are answering email. So cphreference@sals.edu. We're also available that way. So to get started, we are going to talk about ready to cut the cable cord. Up to 69% of households have cut the cord in 2018 versus 52% in 2015. So as you can see, that number has increased, and I'm sure it's increased as well now that we're in 2020 and more people are understanding maybe some changes in technology and also kind of getting frustrated with the price that we're paying for cable now when there are other options. So some things to keep in mind is that when we're talking about cutting the cord or cutting cable, we're talking about your cable bill and your cable TV service. And majority of New Yorkers, especially in this Albany area, are using Spectrum. So it'd be a matter of going to your bill. So you're not actually cutting anything. So there's no cable cutting physically when you're going to go to this direction. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what I'm referring to. What is cutting the cord? Well, it's replacing traditional cable satellite TV with OTA, or over-the-air TV, and internet-based solutions. This is also streaming TV and movies over the internet. This can be pre-recorded content or live broadcasting. The broadcast is streamed through a device and not stored or downloaded. So you're seeing I put internet in bold. So that one thing is to be particularly understanding of this is that you do need the internet. You can get rid of cable, the cable cord or the cable access to your television, but you'll still need the internet because you are going to be accessing your TV or your content through the internet. Now, are you ready to cut the cord? So step one, and I have some homework for you here now. Again, this will be available as it is recorded, but you can also take notes if you'd like. Step one is to look at your current cable bill. Again, many of us are using Spectrum. We don't have very many options in this area, and you want to see what you're paying only for cable. The other thing that we see is that sometimes in the past things were bundled. We used to use Time Warner Cable. You might have some different options now. And then you check to see what are you paying for internet. In my situation, I bundled my everything through Spectrum. I was paying for cable, internet, and for my landline, my home phone number. And then I started deciding that I really needed to take a look at that. I was paying close to $195 a month, and that seemed to be getting too steep for me. So then step two for you would be, what do you want to watch? So as a household, you need to consider what is it that's important to you. And these are actually pre-planning that you might do before you jump right into going in and talking to Spectrum about changing your cable option. So what's important to you as a household? Is it sports, news, history, cooking contests? And I could name and continue to list, and you could do the same thing. List all the different things that you might be interested in, and you can't do without. So in our household, I have my standard shows, and I like the NCIS and some other things, but I really needed to focus on my husband wanting to have his ESPN sports channel. So that was definitely a need in our household. And then step 3, which features are important to you? So there are certain features. You maybe want live TV or DVR, on demand. What are you doing currently? What do you want to do in the future? How important are these channels? Do you need to see them live? And I know, when you're seeing some things like live performances, American Idol, The Voice, Dancing with the Stars, it's important to see it live. Other times people are DVRing and coming back to it later. And then there's also on demand, which you can come back to and maybe have to wait for sometimes. So these are all important considerations. After you've done a little bit of that, kind of talking together as a household and deciding what are some things that are important to you, you might decide that you could just, like myself, if I wanted to, I could have maybe just had basic network channels. In that case, you could potentially go with just using an antenna. And this is for the person who wants just some basic networks, your NBC, ABC, CBS, maybe, and PBS. You just want to stick with the local channels. And depending on the range of the antenna, you could be getting more. So you could be getting some different programming depending on the range of the antenna that you're using. And this varies, of course, by price. So it's not very expensive to add these antennas. The indoor one gets mounted to the wall or to a window, and you're going to kind of play with these to see where you get better reception. One of the things you might also do is double check or try this out before you actually cut your cable. So by that I mean you can set up your antenna and on your remote for your TV, change it from HDMI or from cable to antenna, or change your source to test it out and see how it comes in. These are really actually pretty good, but it does vary by your surrounding areas. Are you in a wooded area? Are you up in the mountains or an area that doesn't have very good access to maybe the range or antenna that you're looking for? Those are all things to consider. Again, this is one option, and I think of this as, one, I'm not that interested in seeing a lot of content or television shows, or two, this could be a great option for a second TV or a lake house. But moving on, if you want to really move forward and find out what it means to cut the cable and use streaming, these are some things you will need. The first is high-speed internet. So you're going to be paying for internet. If you are using Spectrum, they do have 100 megabits per second that is standard. So you will be getting, that's quite enough, and that is considered high speed. A lot of this streaming, you don't really need more than 20 megabits per second or a little bit higher, and so you should be fine. If you're thinking about just using your computer and watching TV or watching the channels, you might see that you're buffering a lot or spinning as you're trying to access a show, and that's not as fun to watch that way. Another thing that you will need is smart TV. The word smart in general means that it connects to the internet. It has internet access. If you already have a smart TV, you're on your way. Or a streaming device. The streaming device is the device that makes your TV able to connect to the internet, and that's using Wi-Fi. So majority of houses do have Wi-Fi in their home. It would just be a matter of seeing your TV and one, finding out if it's a smart TV, or two, finding out if you should use a streaming device. Again, some of you might have already started this process. And the next is a streaming service. Think of a streaming service or find out. That's what we're going to head into next, to find out what might work best for you in your situation. So let's take a look at streaming devices. And again, this connects to the TV, to the internet via Wi-Fi. Our family actually had a smart TV, but it was cumbersome and difficult, and it buffered a lot, and maybe it was a little older than we haven't had it for that many years. It's not, we had it, but it wasn't a newer TV, newer model. So we ended up getting a Roku. And each of these, Roku, Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV Stick, these are different plugins that you can use. It's like an external that you plug into your TV. So you can see it has a USB cable, comes with each of these, and it's just a matter of choice. And the way I think of this is, one, is it's something that someone else in your family has. If my two kids have a Roku, then that might be what I purchase, because I can always go to them and ask them for help, even if it's a phone call. If I am a Google person, I love Google and I want to support them, or I'm an Amazon person and I want to buy a Fire TV stick, that's an option also. You can also buy Apple TV device. So those are the 3 to 4 most popular. And I think of those, in my opinion, Roku is used most heavily and it's popular. Each of these is easy to use, and it's also a matter of finding out, are they compatible with the streaming service that you select? And as you can see from this content that I have here, these do tell you, Hulu, they give you some examples of what they are compatible with. And I think the newer models should be compatible with almost anything. But something to consider as you decide which streaming service you want, pick a device that's compatible. You also want to look at what you need as far as, can you buy just a basic model, which is what we have, or do you need to spend a little bit more money? An example of spending a little bit more money on the Roku device is some of them are a little more expensive because they have voice command. So it's almost like having Alexa at the same time, where I could tell the TV to turn to channel 12. And that's a voice command that comes with Roku that is a little bit more expensive. So maybe look at the basic models to get started. The next would be a streaming service. So maybe you've heard of these, maybe you have this service already, some of you. Netflix has been popular for a number of years. They even used to have DVD borrowing available way back when, if you participated in that. So Netflix is one example, and Amazon Prime. If you already have Prime, for example, you're getting free shipping and you're paying for that, it's about $112 a year. That includes not only free shipping with Prime items, it also includes music and video options. So I would recommend going and checking out Amazon.com, signing in and seeing all the things that you get with your Prime subscription. You're paying for that. That Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, those are all examples that have original programming. So what's nice about original programming, in many cases you do not have commercials. So a lot of people like to binge watch, and sometimes, I mean, right now I'm binge watching Ozark and no commercials. So it's hard to, when you're used to binge watching or you're used to no commercials, then maybe going back to commercials. But keep in mind that not all streaming services are commercial free. So I'll tell you a little bit more. I also want to share with you that this is not a black and white process. So I can't tell you specifically, you know what, I think for you, you should just get Hulu and get a Roku. I wish it was that easy, but you do have to do a little bit more homework. And we did see that through looking at steps 1, 2, and 3 about having to make some decisions before you make your purchases. So we'll discuss each of these at length as we start to decide, well, what is it that maybe your household wants to use? Again, you can have more than one, or you can just select one, or you can add and delete your accounts, which is really nice. So the first thing you would do, you purchase your streaming service, or you discuss that. Then you make sure you have a streaming device that can be used with that service. As I mentioned, most of these are going to be universal and will be able to be used with these services. Once you have, and I have had this question before, let's say that I have a Roku. I plug it in and I'm all set, it's plugged into my TV. And just because you can go on your Roku device and it shows you different channels, you can't use those channels without a subscription. So that's why I have paid subscription here. Roku does have a few channels that you can use, and I'm sure the Fire Stick and Google Chromecast do as well. But anything that you see here on the screen, those are going to be paid subscriptions, and in many cases you can have multiple users. So I really like that, because if I'm paying for Netflix, for example, I can share that and have my college student can use it, or my daughter that lives in Maine can use it. Family and friends. I don't think it's a good idea you to have, let's say, your teenage daughter or son share it with their whole classmates, because that gets a little too much. But it will also find you as the owner, and so if too many people are using Netflix, for example, it will kick them off and not you. So that's something to keep in mind. Also in this PowerPoint presentation, and you can, again, when you watch this back on YouTube, this is a summary that was available in PC Review, PC Magazine for 2019. So if it's not clear to see, you can review this later, or you can look for that PC Review and look at it more closely. But each of these at the top are a lot of products, and some that I've even have available for you. So YouTube TV is one, DirecTV, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Sling TV. And then as it goes through, it looks at the price, and pricing can change at any time. So we have the most expensive would be, it's Fobo TV, but that's something that's not really used that much. It does have the sports channel, is very important for that sports fan. There are other options though that are more than just sports related. It does also continue to show us here how many concurrent streams. So not only somebody watching Netflix in your family or across the country, but at the same time watching concurrent shows. So that's something you might be interested in. Everybody has to watch Bachelor Live at the same time, for example, or a cooking show. And then continuing through, do we have live TV options, original programming? Hulu is the example that I gave earlier. Amazon Prime, Netflix has original programming, which means that you can't get those programs anywhere else. So an example is, I have our family signed up for Hulu Live, which I'll go to in a little bit. And when Game of Thrones was having their end of the finale series or season, we signed up for HBO Now, and it was $15 a month. Here it is, $14.99. So for $14.99, I was able to subscribe just for the 1 month or 6 episodes, so that I could get caught up, and then I was able to deactivate or delete that account. So you do have that possibility in many of these. You could load up in as many streaming services as you'd like, or you can just limit or try out different ones, and that's kind of a good idea. You're not locked into just one cable service. You can try out different options and find what's best for you. Majority of these do have ads, so that's one thing to think about. Amazon Prime doesn't have ads, Netflix, HBO Now, but some of the other services do have ads. I am going to get into detail about the specific streaming services, but before I do that, I wanted to let you know that with the library, Clifton Park Half Moon Library does have a service available for you for streaming. So this is for our Clifton Park and Half Moon Tax District residents. They have a library card to access Hoopla. Hoopla is an app, so you can access Hoopla on a computer, a TV, on a smartphone or a device, say an iPad, for example, or a Samsung tablet, and watch different movies or TV shows. So you're checking those out just like you would a book or an ebook. and you're allowed so many per month. So that's a great service that the library is paying for. That is one option. We do have on our website assistance with that to walk you through adding Hoopla, and we also have librarians available to assist you with that and different classes. So if you're thinking, well, I'm not I'm not paying taxes to Clifton Park or Half Moon. Maybe you live in an area that you're not paying taxes. Well, the good news is that all New York residents can apply for a library card from the New York Public Library. So that anything that you see available at the New York Public Library, you could have access to once you apply for a library card. And it just so happens that they use Overdrive. Overdrive is something we use for digital ebooks and audiobooks, and New York Public Library must be paying for additionally for movies or videos, so that if you have a New York Public Library card, I'm thinking that you could also explore popular movies, and those would be available to you as well. So it's definitely something to look into in these two different options, especially since the word is free. That's my favorite word. So to get started, I wanted to go through some of these options for you, and this might be some homework you'll be doing as well. So keep in mind, right now it's April 30th and 2020. In another month or two, anything could change. The pricing could change, the options or availability of what shows are available could change. So it's something to, as I said, try one of the different services, and then if you decide later you don't like it or that something's changed, you can come back and review those at any time. It's very easy to cancel or get yourself out of any of these streaming services. So Netflix, here's one of the examples. That's one of the names that is most familiar to many people. So the first thing is, how much does Netflix cost? Well, you can use Netflix for a monthly fee of $8.99 a month, and you can have multiple users, as I mentioned. No extra costs or contracts, so you could delete your account or deactivate it at any time. So it's very simple to do that. How do I cancel? No cancellation fee. Start or stop your account anytime you want. So whether you're going to set up your account on a computer or an iPad, for example, you can do it that way. But most likely you'll also you set up your account with a username and password, and then you'll log in and do the same thing on your TV. Again, remembering if you don't have a smart TV that has access to the internet, you will be using a streaming device like Roku to be able to access Netflix, and you'll be able to log in on your TV. Netflix also gives you the option that you can download your favorite shows. So if you've heard of people doing that, and then they can watch them offline without an interconnection. So that would be an example of you're in an airplane or someone else's home and you just need access. Or it's one way, when you have children young children that you need to entertain. So I wanted to answer a question for you here. One question came up. Is it easy to cancel Spectrum cable service? Can it be done online, or do I have to call? I'm not 100% sure about the online. I'm thinking you potentially could. You can definitely call, and when the services were open, and I'm not sure if they are currently with the COVID-19 going on, I actually went to the store. So there is a storefront. There's two storefronts in this area, which is great. There's a storefront in Clifton Park across from Hannaford, and there's also one down at the Colony Center Mall. And my husband and I had mentioned we're paying $195 a month. So we went in and we were ready for a fight. And we went in to talk to them at Spectrum, and we just told them we'd like to eliminate our cable service. They said, okay, no problem. And that was it. It was very easy, very simple. So I would think you could do the same thing in person or over the phone. So not sure with the question about online, but it's worth checking into. That's for sure. But it was very simple and it was no problem. I think they're getting used to that right now. And I also have more of a story about that I will get back to. Great question. Thank you. Next one I want to talk about is Hulu. So there's two things here, Hulu and Hulu Live. Hulu is basic, $5.99 a month, almost like Netflix that you're paying for a variety of movies and shows. Some are popular, some are older, but all kinds of different shows. And with Hulu Live and also Hulu here shows, you can do an add-on. So HBO was $15 a month if I wanted to add that on. And you see Showtime, Cinemax, and Starz are also available. This is something new that I stumbled upon today. So that, as I mentioned, you might want to check out these websites as you're doing this research. So the first one was Netflix.com. This one is Hulu.com. And I stumbled upon this that you can get Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus for $12.99 a month. That's a great deal. Again, when we were looking to make the switch, ESPN was important to my husband. So I ended up actually, that wasn't available. The Disney and all that was not available when we made the switch. So I'm scrolling down a little bit to show you. If you just wanted to watch some Hulu original shows, some movies, and different whatever TV shows or movies they have available, that's $5.99 a month. Or it's $54.99 a month and you get over 70 channels, which includes, it says 65, which includes ESPN. So if I look down a little bit further, it tells me exactly what's available if I want to use Hulu Live. I can record live TV with 50 hours of cloud DVR storage, which means I can access that any time, up to 50 hours. I can watch live TV online and on other devices, so I'm able to share that plan. And one of the things you'll be doing as you do this homework, this is an example of Hulu Live, is to look for what channels are included. So on Hulu Live, I do have these channels. And so again, remember at the beginning when I asked you what's important to you. If the History Channel is important to you, you're going to make a note that that is available on Hulu Live for $54.99 a month. National Geographic, which is now available on Disney Plus. So it is kind of some homework to do this a little bit, but it'd be well worth it to make sure you're getting a good price and that you're getting what you want and what your family wants. And I can view additional channels. So if I need to break it down, remember I had said that news might be important to you. And entertainment. On something like Hulu Live and some of the other streaming services I'll go into, it's definite that you will be getting the major broadcast like ABC, NBC, CBS. Those will be included, Fox. So anything beyond that you might need to look into, like CNN, for example. So I'm going to make my note here. ESPN, the different options of ESPN and ESPN News are available here through Hulu Live, and one of the only areas, as far as I can tell, that offers the Yes Network. So if the Yes Network, the Yankees, is important to you, that's very important to note that you would probably need to look at Hulu Live. I don't know if the Yes Network has its own app, but something to think about if that's important to you. So I just gave you the walkthrough on what you would do. So per streaming service, what's important to you, which channels do you want, and then go through and find and see what's the best one for you. So I'm going to stop the different streaming service options for a minute to tell you a story about what we ended up doing. So what we ended up doing, again, it was important. We had to make sure that my husband was happy with ESPN, being able to have access to that. So I looked into it, and it was available through Hulu Live and through YouTube TV. And the cost was about the same. Actually, at the time that I signed up for Hulu Live, it was $44.99 a month, and YouTube was $49.99 a month. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to stick with Hulu Live. And we ended up signing up for that. Again, I had mentioned then we did an add-on and we watched Game of Thrones, HBO for a bit. Then it turned out that Hulu Live, as you saw, jumped. Their price really jumped at least $10. So now their pricing was up to $54.99 a month. And we were still sitting through commercials. So with that in mind, I did some other options, and I tried to see what else was available. And DVR was also something we wanted, because we wanted to be able to watch our shows when we wanted to watch them. So I know that sometimes we've had some bad feelings towards Spectrum, local Spectrum or Time Warner. But I have to say that after we had Hulu Live and then we did some more research, we decided to go back to Spectrum. So we went into Spectrum storefront and I asked them about their streaming service. And their streaming service was available for $45, which is similar to what we originally started with Hulu Live. And then they marked down the internet pricing to $44. So with the taxes and so on, those charges that are unforeseen, we're paying $112 a month versus the $195. So once we originally started with this whole process, we went to Hulu Live plus internet, and that was about $120. Now we're down to $111 and change, close to $112 a month. If we weren't so particular about sports and all those things, I'm sure we could have gone less, but that's something that you consider, and it's very personal per family on what you want to do. And so that's what worked out for us. So I have to say that the Spectrum app, using it is very easy, and we get the shows we want. We get the normal, the local channels. We also get 200 channels. So that's more than Hulu Live and YouTube TV. We get 200 channels, and we probably definitely don't watch all that many at once. So the other thing was with Hulu Live, we were watching commercials, and they had said, well, for $12 extra per month, we can eliminate commercials. That wasn't worth it to us. So with Spectrum, we were trying to decide, well, do we want DVR service? What is it that was important to us? And it was like a light bulb went on. And we decided, we can do on demand. So for example, with our NCIS, we watch all the NCIS LA, NCIS regular, and New Orleans. So those particular channels, or those shows, I should say, and we could watch them on demand rather than spending extra on DVR or DVR service, or going back and forth. On demand, we knew that the way of our lifestyle, we're not going to watch those shows live anyway, but we were able to watch them on demand, probably a day after the show had aired. So that definitely worked for us. And sometimes we don't get to it for a week or so because we have a lot of things going on. And we are sharing a Netflix account with my daughter who lives in Maine. So we have different options and different shows we're watching. Again, there are different options, and you can find out what might work best for you and what's important to you. Is price important? Is particular channels or services important? You can look for DVR, you can look for on demand to see what might be good for you. Let me check, we have another question. Okay, good point. The question or the comment was about how low spectrum prices tend to be a one-year promotion. And I know since we're in that spectrum area, we've had some bad feelings, as I had mentioned before. And it is frustrating in general because I did look at my cable bill, or my TV, I should say, my spectrum bill when it came back, and I did see that uh, that it did say promo on it on our spectrum bill. However, I also know from working with them over the years that you pretty much do have to go in and talk to them every year or watch that every year. So again, if that has been an issue in the past and it's customer service or other reasons, I am willing on my part to go and review this every year. If it's not something that you're interested in doing, that's an option too. And again, it depends on what you're interested in doing. It was easy to cancel Spectrum, and it's just as easy to cancel Hulu or Hulu Live, YouTube, any of these services. So good point. That was promo pricing, but it is good for at least the year, and I do watch it closely. So the reason why I switched back to Spectrum, that was another question. The reason why I switched was because of the cost. So I originally went with Hulu Live, which was $44.99 a month. It had our ESPN options and our DVR options. And I don't know if it was the principle of it, and I just was annoyed that Hulu Live bumped up by $10. So my bill then went up to $54.99 for Hulu. So that's the reason why I started investigating again to see what my options were. And we could have gone to maybe, well, YouTube was around $50. So 50, 54, 55 versus 45. You know, it all depends on, for me, it was kind of the principle of it and giving Spectrum that option, give it a try. So far, so good. And actually, it could also have to do with which channels are, that you do have channel lineups, and sometimes one channel lineup Spectrum app is easier to use maybe than Hulu Live app, or comparatively to other options. So I do find the Spectrum app easier to use. And the question is, what if the streaming app goes up? Well, I'm going to probably go through this again. I am a person who is a penny pincher, and if I didn't have a husband that liked ESPN, I would probably watch a lot of DVDs from the library. I'd probably watch different content. Again, I could get away with probably just an antenna for basic channels, maybe use Netflix, maybe use Prime. So those are different options. And I hear you. It probably will go up, and I'll be investigating this all over again. Great questions, great feedback too. So again, this could be some things to look into. You know what you like to watch, and also how much money you're willing to go up to and what you're willing to spend. I mean, coming down from $195, an extra $10 beyond $120 wouldn't have been bad, but it was just, for me, the principle of it. So let's go to YouTube. YouTube TV. Some of us have never heard of this, but it is out there and it is available. And it also includes ESPN. And you go through and you see what other channels are available. So again, on these different streaming services, there are local channels, and then you want to look through and see what's available. The Yes Network is not available on YouTube TV. But maybe there's some other, something else to look at is college TV, and college sports, and there's MLB Network. So there are some options here. This also includes the BBC. Some people really like that, and so that might be something they're looking for. YouTube also includes PBS Kids, WMHT. That can be tricky sometimes, and Acorn TV is some old classics that a lot of people like, and so that might be something that people want. As far as PBS, it's a little bit trickier to find. Let's see if I had that listed here. Yes, I did bring up a search on PBS. So watching PBS videos on other streaming services, what's available. If you have the PBS Passport that you've paid for, then you have that as your option. If you have, and I was not aware of this until recently, but you can find PBS on demand through Amazon Prime or Prime Video, which is your Amazon option, Amazon.com. So those options with PBS is your PBS Passport or going through Amazon or Apple. I do see that here too. We were looking at YouTube TV, and I wanted to see if we had pricing handy. $49.99 a month. Okay, the next one I wanted to look at is Amazon. I had mentioned Amazon Prime. So try Prime. You have, again, those shipping options available to you, and you might not have realized, but you can also watch originals or movies, TV shows. In some cases, there are associated fees with some of the movies, almost like a rental. But if you hear people talking about maybe Hunters that they've been watching or other series, these are The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, that's very popular. This is what they're talking about. I have an Amazon Prime account because I purchased that. It's an annual cost, and instead of just getting shipping, I have some other options too. So check that out. If you're already paying for Amazon Prime, see what else you can get. If I go here and I log in, I can see these are all the different things that I could take advantage of. There's a music library. I can put my photos here as storage. Amazon Drive, which would be like cloud storage also. And if you have a Kindle or Kindle Fire, you can get Amazon ebooks, a lot of titles for free. Sorry, let's see what's going on. So we've also heard of the Disney Plus option. Disney Plus is more maybe than you would have thought. I just thought of some of the Snow White and Finding Nemo and those kind of movies. But as you can see, there's Disney movies, there's Pixar movies, Marvel series, Star Wars, and then National Geographic. There are some things that you might not have realized. Hannah Montana and so on. Aladdin, Lion King. So if you're looking for something, fun movies that were created by Pixar or Disney or the Star Wars series, you can subscribe to Disney Plus. That's $6.99 a month. And you can also check on promotions because as a Verizon user, I pay for Verizon for my wireless services, my cell phone, and our family plan. Because I ended up going with the unlimited plan, I was able to get Disney Plus for a year free. So if you're already doing that or you're thinking of upgrading your data plan, you might want to check into getting Disney Plus for free. it's an option if you have are already paying Verizon for that. One thing that is also available in Apple TV, I've seen advertisements for that, different original programming on Apple TV. Again, there are so many options. Somebody could be a real TV junkie, or you can pick and choose maybe what works best for you. So Apple TV Plus is a streaming service. It has documentaries, kids entertainment, comedies. It has original programming, and that's another one that can be for sale. I know, or subscribed to. I know that Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon have a great show out on Apple TV right now. So that is a streaming service or an app that is available. That's $4.99 a month. So again, so many choices. Sling was also mentioned in the PowerPoint, and Sling, I don't hear as many people using this, but some people do. That gives you different options. That is Sling TV, again, going through, seeing what's available to you, live TV for less. So I think that's $25 a month, and it does show you some different channels, what might be available to you. It also has some Latin channels. I see that up here, Latin or international channels. So the basic programs, basic channels, plus, here's Food Network, Lifetime, HGTV, some things that might be something that you're looking for. I'm gonna go back for a minute. So as a review, unless you have questions, if you'd like to put some questions up on your Q&A toolbar, go ahead and do that for me. I know that I've presented a lot of information. Basically, again, I wish I could give you a black and white as to, boy, I think you should do this or do that. But it does come down to personal interest. What are you interested in watching? What's important to you? How many TV or household members are you talking about? So again, if you're ready to cut the cable, this would give you the option to do that. You would need high-speed internet, a smart TV, which means it has internet access, or a streaming device, which connects to the internet, and a streaming service. So a question we have here. Let's see. One more question. Okay, one of the questions was, is there another option for internet other than Spectrum? I believe Verizon has some option, Verizon Wireless. We do not have Fios in our local area, but I know some people do have Fios, which is an option. So yeah, we are a bit limited in this area. And so it makes it tricky. So that's something else you could do, is go to Spectrum's website, see what they have available, what they're offering, and if it's something where you really just want to get away from, I think we're kind of in a situation where our options are Spectrum or Verizon, and that's our local area. Now, unless somebody else has, you can also use the Q&A to prompt information, what you're doing, how it's working. That's definitely what I'd like to hear also. So I'm happy with this question because sometimes I forget to share some information. So one of the questions was, do all streaming devices cover only one TV? That is correct. So you need say for example, a Roku per TV set. Or I had mentioned if you just wanted to have basic antenna on one TV and a Roku downstairs, you can do that. But per TV, you would need a device to connect to the Wi-Fi in your home, and you only need the one subscription though. So I could, for Hulu Live or YouTube TV or Spectrum app, I could use that service for the entire household, the entire house, but I would need the streaming device per TV. Roku will overcome if you have an older TV. It's funny to think that 2015 or 2017 or something like that is an older TV, but Roku will work with different TV sets, so that definitely is an option. And I like my Roku. I think it's been a perfect option. Okay, one of the questions about enjoying documentaries, history, indie films, and then what service might be better than another for that. Something with indie films specifically, you could try as a library patron, you could try Hoopla, or as I had mentioned, the Overdrive that the New York Public Library has. New York Public Library also used to have Kanopy. That was their streaming service for borrowers before, and that ended up going up in price. But definitely the History Channel, if you're looking to that, it would be a matter of just one of these that I even mentioned, I can't remember off the top of my head, did include the History Channel. The question was about the smart TV again. Yes, unfortunately, the age does matter. So we had an older smart TV. I ended up using a Roku. Roku cost about $30. So I did not add that into my originally 120, now down to 111, $112 for my monthly service. I just went out and bought a Roku for each TV. So I looked at $30 investment. It ended up now being 90 because we have 3 TVs using the Roku. But the Roku did take care of the situation for us. We could now access on our TVs, we could use the Roku, which it looks like a remote, and then you can just go through the different channels and have access, add channels, the ones that you have subscribed to. These are all great comments and great feedback. Great questions. Let's see. Do I need an antenna for each TV? Again, it depends on what type of antenna you're using. If you're using the 30-mile indoor, yes. If you're using 180 or one of the other antennas, you could have good luck with that just for your entire house. Depends on the range and the model. And the question was also about should you go out and buy another smart TV? Something to look at. I know that if you're ready, my husband would probably be ready to go out and buy another one because he wants a bigger screen. That's all bigger is better. To me, the screen size was not important to me. I was happy to spend the $30 for the basic Roku and start with that. But you can get some smart TVs that are standard size, or I don't know what standard is anymore, but smaller size is not the big really 54-inch or whatever in the 50s. It was more like a 36 or something. My daughter has that in her room, and so yes, depending on price, you could go out and get a new smart TV, maybe some kind of flat screen, or you could keep your TV that you have now and get a Roku. We ended up going with Rokus in our situation. The device itself, the Roku, was easy to install. Again, it's just looks like a flash drive or a USB drive that you plug in to the back of your TV, and it or to the side, and it sits on the stand or sits somewhere that you're pointing the remote that comes with Roku. The Roku is a remote. It has some buttons on it, like you could go right directly to Netflix, or you can just use, it's very basic, so yes, it is easy to use. You will need to set up a password, an email and a password to get yourself started with connecting your Roku to your TV. That would be through your Wi-Fi, so you need to know your Wi-Fi password. And then having the access to which subscription did you get? Is it Netflix? Is it something else? So it sounds like a lot of information, but it's actually not too difficult to get yourself set up. So another question that came in is, do all streams have on-demand and or DVR? I don't believe so. Again, that would have to, let's see, let's do a search here for a minute. I'll get back to the Q&A in just a moment. Just to clarify before I go look for on-demand or DVR, yes, you pay for the device one time, so I paid $30 for the Roku device for one TV, and then the streaming service is monthly. So we pay for, in our case, the Spectrum streaming service, Spectrum app, we pay that monthly. The 111 includes the cost of internet also, but the streaming service was about $45. So yes, you're paying a one-time cost for the device, the streaming device, like a Roku, and then you're paying a monthly for the streaming service. Good summary, very good. So on what has on-demand and or DVR? Well, let's do a quick search. I don't know that that answered the question, but I know Hulu Live offers the DVR service. YouTube TV offers the DVR service. It looks like so your option would really be to look at your channels, what's important to you for channels, and also to look at is DVRing or on demand important to you. So really you can narrow this down. I know I gave you a lot of information. I'll go back to that in a minute to see. I also got a lot of my information. I had mentioned that my PC magazine was for 2019. Here's 2020. So this best video streaming service for 2020. I just did a search for streaming service just now. But I do like, this is kind of all in one. It's kind of nice to see a comparison. I'm not getting the comparison. Whoops, I don't want that. So as far as the topic of DVR, it's YouTube TV and Hulu Live. On demand, double check with those to see if those have on demand also. If you really are interested in DVR and you have a lot that you DVR, you can even get something called TiVo. TiVo is a device that allows you to DVR anything you want. I think it has an associated price though. Just double check. So as you can see, TiVo is a box that you would use and you could DVR your shows. And it also has the voice control command. That's an option. Let me get to see if there's a TiVo pricing. So yes, it costs a lot more to me than it would be worth it. But you know, again, you would have these almost like a lifetime box of anything that you wanted to DVR. You buy the box, and then you have a plan, an annual plan. So it looks like Hulu has on-demand shows. I should probably show you Spectrum since we talked about that. So again, if you wanted to do a search for this, you could look for the Spectrum TV app and see the latest pricing, what's available, what it offers. Does have on demand, does have live TV. I do notice that I've gone over time, so I want to thank you very much. Again, I know this isn't a one size fits all answer to everything that you might be needing to know, but you can take a look at the different options, kind of do your homework. This will be on our YouTube channel, so you will be able to come back and take a look at it. So keeping in mind, again, the steps and what's important to you. So this will be some homework you'll need to do to be able to cut the cord. Look at your current bills, see what you're paying. knowing that unfortunately we're kind of limited to what we can do, but knowing what's important to be able to watch. So some of you said documentaries, history, Indie Channel, just taking a look at that. I had to stick with sports right away with ESPN, so that helped me really narrow my search down to, at the time it was Hulu Live and YouTube TV, and then the Spectrum app did come out later, indicating that they had ESPN. I think they're really trying to get some business back. And then what are features that are important to you? So I'm going to look at the last question that's in our, and it was just feedback. Thank you, and very informative. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. We will continue to have virtual programs and live programs available to you through the library. Thank you.